1,000 years ago, an alien videotaped his attempt to educate a caveman. The Prometheus and Bob tapes.
Hey, E! They can't with us.
What's going on, Bills Mafia? Welcome to another edition of Sunday in February. We got a great show for you guys tonight. I am Justus General Rafford. That there's my brother Mike the Caveman listening. What is going on, Caveman? How you feeling today, Night?
I'm ready to get I feel well, man. I'm ready to get things going. Yeah, we do have a great show on hand here. I'm excited to indulge into it because the playoffs, they're nearing closer and closer, and the playoff picture is getting easier, but at the same time still tougher to predict because we don't know what's exactly going to happen as the wire gets closer here. So I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you, man. It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. You never know. Shout out to everybody in the building, including my man, Coach Boom, in the comment section already. Thank you for the support and love, guys. We always appreciate it. Make sure you slap that like button. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and go to your little YouTube, type in the Caveman, hit subscribe. Check out some of the dope content my man is out here putting out. Also, the voiceovers. I was just talking to him pre-show. Great voiceovers over here on Facebook, YouTube, and YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, check them out. Very, very, very good stuff. But let's go ahead and get into it. We are going to go over the playoff seedings as they are currently, as they are currently presented. We're also going to talk about the remaining games that these playoff teams have, what we think their record could be, what we think the final playoff seedings are going to look like in both conferences. So, it's a couple contenders. We got 8 teams here in the NFC, and we got 9 teams in the AFC that are in contention. If you're more than a game and a half out, at this point, what are the chances that somebody's going to drop to you make up to, and then you know what I mean? It's a little slim to none. So we're gonna leave those out. For instance, do we think the Raiders are gonna at 5-7 are gonna leapfrog the Chargers, Patriots, and Jets to make a playoff spot? Probably not. I mean, anything's possible, but probably not. Do we think the Lions at 5-7? That's actually not a bad record for them. The Lions at 5-7 are going to leapfrog the 7-5 Commanders. Probably not. So we're going to leave those teams out of it here, and we're just going to focus on the teams that have a positive record or are at 500 at least. NFC looks a lot better than the AFC record-wise, but the AFC East is by far the toughest division. Every single team has a winning record. Every single team is in playoff contention except the Patriots. They're one game out, so you never know. Bill Belichick made the playoffs last year with the team he has, so we'll see what happens. But all right, you want to go ahead and get ready to get into it, Kevin?
Yes, sir. Let's hop right in.
All right, sounds good. So we start off in the NFC with the number 1 seed, the 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles. They are going to be taking on the New York Giants this weekend. Should be a good game. It's a 1:00 game, which is very shocking. Probably shouldn't be. So since they are playing the Giants and the Giants are also in contention, that also knocks a game off of the Giants that we have to talk about. So looking at the Eagles, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and the defense, everybody, they look so good. They're explosive on offense. They're dominant on defense. It looks like everything is fitting perfectly. Everything is working in Philadelphia. And also looking at the Giants, Brian Daboll, Joe Shine have gone in and they've made the best of it wasn't the worst situation in the world, but wasn't the best either. And they're looking pretty good here. They are in the playoffs as of right now, as it currently stands. They are the 6th seed. So looking at the number 1 seed versus the 6th seed coming up this weekend, you get to see a playoff matchup. What are your thoughts on this game, K-Man?
I'm thinking the Giants are running out of steam down the stretch here. They have a pretty tough schedule. I said that I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said that I think the Giants actually end up missing the playoffs for a number of reasons, including the roster. The roster is pretty injured. They lost, I think it was a Dory Jackson in the back end, if I'm not mistaken. They also lost Wandell Robinson, who was pretty much the only talent they have at wide receiver outside of like Darius Slayton. Like every so often he makes a big play, but it's pretty much just running on Saquon Barkley and then the hopeful efficiency you get from Daniel Jones, which is capped to an extent. So Brian Dable's only got so much to work with, as good of a job as he's done this year. I just think, they're running out of steam, and they luckily got out of that game against the Commanders with a tie. They probably should have won it, to be fair, but they play the Commanders again coming out of the bye week. They got the Eagles right now. These are both two very good teams against the run. The Eagles, at least for this weekend, very tough offense. I just don't see them having a chance in this game, despite their record not being too bad. And like I said, I think the Giants actually end up missing out in the postseason.
So looking at the Giants and the Eagles, I mean, Eagles almost look unstoppable. Is there any way you see the Giants pulling this out? And if so, what does it look like? What's their path to success?
I guess the only way I could see it is it would have to be a pretty disastrous day for the Eagles. I mean, even if Jalen Hurts goes out there and, he's not throwing the ball effectively, they can just turn around and hand it off to Miles Sanders, or they can, have Jalen Hurts tuck it and run, and that offensive line is going to pave the way. So, if the Giants have any chance of coming out on top, their defense is going to have to play really stout, a relatively low-scoring game, creating a lot of issues for Jalen Hurts through the air, forcing them to run, and maybe playing stout, in the trenches. So the only way I could see them winning is if it's a relatively low-scoring game and they stymie the Eagles' offense and squeak out an ugly one. But I think it's safe to say that the Giants are in trouble here.
Yeah, I would say so too. And I mean, the only thing I could see maybe helping the Giants out is the fact that the Eagles haven't seen them yet this year. They still have to play them twice. And also, divisional opponents. They know their opponents pretty well. You take a look at,
Sure.
Teams where like the Chargers are always coming close to beating the Chiefs, and the Raiders come close to beating the Chiefs. The Jets and the Dolphins have beat the Bills. Sometimes you get some anomalies in divisional games. So we'll see what happens with that. All right. They also play the Bears and the Cowboys. All right. Now I can pretty much guess what you're going to say about the Chicago game. So let's talk about the Cowboys game. That's going to be a good one, right? The Cowboys are sitting at the 5 seed as of right now. Given that, we believe the Eagles are probably going to win this week and next week. Let's say they're now 13-1, and then they have Dallas. What does that game look like?
That's going to be the biggest game of the Eagles season, to finish it out here. It's a divisional opponent. Like you mentioned, those games could always, go one way or another. They're actually going to be getting the Cowboys with Dak back under center, and the Cowboys have looked like a lethal football team. It's going to be a battle of the behemoths in the NFC, and they happen to play in the same division. So this will be a very telling one. I know not too many people are believers in the Eagles actually being Super Bowl contenders. They already took care of the Cowboys once, but they weren't at full strength. So this game is going to be very telling for both sides of the ball. And if the Eagles are able to come out on top in this one, I think I feel comfortable saying that they are probably the strongest contender in that conference. But if the Cowboys go out there and they're able to take down those Giants, then hypothetical Giants, but then I think the Cowboys will probably be the team in my eyes that is the most dangerous in the NFC. So this is a big one. I think these are the two best teams in that conference right now, and it'll be very telling depending on what the outcome is.
All right, let's say for schedule's sake here, if you had to pick a winner, who you leaning towards?
I'm probably going to take the Eagles. I
believe that the Cowboys are the ones that handed the Eagles their sole loss this year, are they not?
No, that was the Eagles lost to the Commanders, actually. Another divisional opponent, divisional matchup. Wow, the Cowboys, I think they lost by a couple possessions, but that was because they had Cooper Rush under center. So it wasn't the best indicator of where these teams truly were at. So this will be a good one. I think this will be the matchup of the year in terms of the NFC landscape. The Commanders, like you said, these divisional matchups get tight, and the Commanders were the first team to hand the Eagles their only loss so far, and that was shocking. But And I think, the way they beat the Commanders, the way the Commanders beat the Eagles that week would be the way that the Giants could. But I just don't think the Giants defense is as talented or tough as the Commanders is.
Fair enough. All right, so we got the Eagles sitting at 14-1 as of right now. They then play New Orleans. I mean, not an amazing team. They aren't in our playoff bracket here. But is there any chance that, Andy Dalton and Alvin Kamara and the boy?
No.
No.
Zeros.
But all right, that's fair. Fair enough. They close the season out with the Giants again. What are the chances that the Giants are able to, squeak out a win there and I mean, help their playoff chances? Because we're going to get to the Giants momentarily, but if they lose the first game, as we predicted, they will go into being 7-5, and they'll drop down out of the playoffs depending on what the Seahawks and the Commanders do this upcoming weekend. So do you think that they may be able to squeak out a win in week 17? I mean, given this, it'll look like the Eagles will be 15-1 at that point. So you think maybe the backups, they can come in and beat the backups?
Yeah, I mean, if the Eagles have the division, the number 1 seed clutched at that point, then I think the Giants do have a chance. But hypothetically, if the Eagles are still playing to win, I think this is going to be a game where the Giants are, they'll be deflated by this point of the year. Really won't have much juice left. Their secrets have been discovered, and the formula to beating that team has been, I think, released at this point. And by that time, it'll be more than figured out. So unless the Giants are sitting their starters, and even in that case, I think it's Gardner Minshew that's still the backup over there. Even in that case, if Gardner Minshew steps up, he's still been efficient enough in the opportunities he's gotten in the past, since not being a starter anymore, to play football at a high enough level to still beat the Giants. So, and considering how good the Eagles are, around the quarterback position, I don't even know if there's a chance that they beat the backups either. So that might be downplaying how much the Giants have done this year, but I just don't think the roster is good. It's just not a good team from top to bottom.
I mean, they've been squeaking by a lot of people. They've had flashes, but I can definitely see where your skepticism comes from. So, we got the Eagles finishing 16-1 here. So you also did say it depends on if they have closed off the number 1 seed for themselves at that point, whether they'll sit their starters or not. So taking a look at the Vikings here, they are at 10-2, so they only are 1 game back. They have not lost a single divisional game yet, and both teams have won 6 conference games. The Vikings have lost 2, and the Eagles have lost 1. So let's say week 17 rolls around and the Vikings haven't lost another game yet. The Eagles would actually be behooved to play their starters, because if the Vikings win out, they'll both be 6-2 in the or they'll both be however many games in the conference. I think they get 4 out of conference games, if I'm not mistaken. So what, they would be 13-2 in conference. I'm wilding. That is definitely not the math. I'm sorry. Okay. They'll have 2 conference losses. Let's put it that way. And the Eagles would actually have more divisional losses, meaning that the Vikings would take that number 1 spot. So that'd be interesting to see. But either way, you would have with your predictions, you would have the Eagles finishing 16-1. Are the Eagles a real 16-1 team?
By the standards of their schedule, yes, they're a team that's probably the most structurally sound from on both sides of the ball. They're strong in every area, and they dominate in the trenches, and they have an relatively easy schedule, and they haven't been challenged too much. So I won't say that they're truly the team that the record may indicate by the season's end, but I think it's very possible that they do end up with 1 loss on their schedule. And I thought it was possible that they could have gone 17-0. I mean, we could be sitting here saying that, they're still undefeated and they'd only have, they've only lost to the Commanders. And that was a game that was relatively shocking as well. So, I mean, we could very easily be sitting here talking about the Eagles' chances of going undefeated because of how easy their schedule is.
So let me challenge you a little bit on that. we say the Eagles have had an easy schedule, right? But they blew out the Vikings earlier in the year, 24-7. They beat them pretty good. I don't call it a blowout necessarily, but the Vikings definitely had to pass the six. That's for sure. They've beaten the Vikings, who are the number 2 seed. Haven't played the 49ers. The Bucks are 6-6. I don't think anybody's expecting anything of the Bucks. From your predictions, they will have beaten the number 5 team, who are 9-3, the Cowboys, twice this season. They will have beaten the Giants twice this season. And I believe they also beat the Seahawks. Let me see.
Did they play the Seahawks? I can't recall.
They haven't played the Seahawks. But they will have beaten 3 or 4 of the top 5 or 6 teams. So would it really be fraudulent? I mean, that's not a terrible schedule.
It's not a terrible schedule at all. I guess it's just one of those things where I don't see outside of the Cowboys. I'm going to be honest. I don't think there really is a true good team, a great team in that conference. I think the Cowboys and the Eagles are equal in the sense that they are probably the top contenders. But even just considering the rest of the landscape of the conference in comparison to previous years, I don't think those are what true Super Bowl contending teams look like. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think the Eagles are looking like it. It's just one of those things where, they might hit the postseason and the lack of experience will bite them in the ass. The lack of experience for, the quarterback position. They have guys on the defensive side of the ball that have never been in a position like that. It'll just be, for that reason, teams kind of fizz out in the postseason. But we can't predict that, right? I think the Eagles and the Cowboys are the only 2 teams with any type of merit, in my opinion. I'm the biggest Vikings are frauds believer you'll come across. I have no faith in that team to be anything but a first-round exit. So any victory or loss to a team like that is just, I don't know. I don't know how to read it, but I just don't believe in them.
Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to the Vikings now at 10-2. They have the Lions coming up. Now, typically I would skip this one. However, Lions are pretty scrappy. We've seen that they gave us a run for our money, us being the Buffalo Bills, and then last week I believe they won their game. It's slipping my mind who they played, but they're either way they're a very scrappy team, very capable, and they look like they have something to play for. So Vikings versus Lions, who you got there?
I'm gonna take the Vikings just to play it safe, but last year we saw the Lions take down the Vikings for their first win. This season we've seen the Vikings struggle against teams that they're supposed to be much better than. And this is a game where the Lions, if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, they need to win. And the Vikings, like I said, they haven't been beating teams convincingly. Every single one of their wins have, been within one possession outside of, I think, week number 2 against the Packers. Or maybe it was week number 1 or 2 against the Packers. Every win has been within one possession. And, the 2 losses that they have, they've kind of gotten spanked, by the Eagles once by, what was it? I think that would be 2 to 3 possessions. And then the Cowboys decimated them, embarrassed them 40-3. So, this is a game that they very easily could lose. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but the last time I checked, the Lions are actually favorites to win this game, despite the fact that the Vikings
are you serious?
Yeah, the Lions.
Well,
according to Vegas,
the Lions just put an absolute smacking up on Jacksonville. They dropped a 40 burger, 40-14. They also put an absolute slapping on the Giants a couple of weeks ago, 31-18. So I mean, they also scored 31 on the Bears. I mean, the Lions ain't nothing to sneeze at here. They went toe-to-toe with the Seahawks. They put up 45 points. Jared Goff is, he's not out there, just doing whatever. So, hey, you never know there. So we're going to give that game to the Lions, you said?
Oh, man. You know what? I am going to give that game to the Lions. I'm going to give it to the Lions. I think they do pull it out.
All right. If you're going to do that, you have to answer this question. What percentage of that is biased against the Vikings?
I'm going to say, I'll say 40%. But
all right, that's a fair number.
I would say more if Vegas didn't just drop the Lions as a favorite. Like there's a
That is a
clear
very
there's a clear perspective about the Vikings right now that would be reason to believe that the Lions could win, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. So I would say 40%. And the other 60% is just, basic reason. You've seen the way the Lions have been playing, the way the Vikings have struggled to come away in games, and they've been, squeaking away. And, Vegas coming out with the line like that. It's just, there's context to it that would suggest that it's not a crazy thing, obviously. And, of course, I hate the Vikings, so I'm also going to factor that in. But I won't say it's entirely biased.
All right, fair enough. I will say that I think of Kirk Cousins in a lot of the same ways I think of Joe Burrow, right? Infamous, famous, whatever you want to call it, for saying it. 60% of Joe Burrow's talent is Jamar Chase. And I believe maybe about 75% of Kirk Cousins' talent is Justin Jefferson. So, I mean, hey, look, I saw the tape when he played us. He just threw it up. Like, he might as well have had his eyes closed. He was just like, what side of the field was 18 supposed to be on? Yeah, I'm just throw it there. Like, and I mean, it's not a bad strategy. It works most of the time. So, fair enough. All right, Colts. I mean, I kind of feel like that is. You hate the Vikings, so what do you think?
The Colts. The Colts lose that game. There's no way they win. No way.
All right. Let's move on to the Giants. The Vikings are going to be taking on the Giants. That's a pretty good game. You gave the Giants a loss to the Eagles, so at this point they would be hovering around either 8-5 or 7-6. So a very, very big game for those guys when they enter to play the Vikings.
I'm going to take the Vikings. I was, like I said, I truly don't think the Giants might win one more game the rest of the year if they're lucky. And I don't think this game against the Vikings is one of them. They just don't have a high-powered enough offense to keep up with, Justin Jefferson single-handedly. So, with that being said, I got to go with the Vikings here.
All right. Oh, wow. Giants fans are not going to like this podcast.
No, but...
All right. This isn't great for you. Exactly as a Vikings disliker. Last two games of the season, they have the Packers and the Bears. Chances are Rodgers will not be playing that Packers game, and I don't know how you feel about the Bears. I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that you're giving them a W over the Packers.
Yeah, and the Bears.
All right, and the Bears. All right, fair enough. Okay, so we knock out two birds with one stone. All right, so we got the Vikings finishing 14-3. That's not a bad record at all. You go in as the number 2 seed. You're not playing on the road until you get to Philly. Until you get to Philly. So not a bad not a bad season for Minnesota there. All right, let's move on to the 3 seed. We have the San Francisco 49ers, who just lost their quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. He said he had a dislocated ankle at first. Turns out it wasn't dislocated. It was just like really bruised or something. They say that if rehab goes well, he could be returning as early as January. So if the 49ers should make the playoffs, they could have Jimmy G back, guy who's led them to the Super Bowl. So you never know what will happen. This week they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, they look putrid if we're just being real. 6-6 should very well be 5-7 at this very moment. They scored 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes when they couldn't score a single touchdown the first 57 minutes of the game. So we'll see what happens there. What do you think will happen there?
Man, it's a tough one. I think, the defense of the 49ers is probably the best in the league at the moment. So they can very easily win this game against the Buccaneers offense that's been terrible. But at the same time, Brock Purdy's probably going to be starting. They signed, I think it was Josh Johnson off the streets to be, I don't know if he's going to be just a backup or what, if they're going to try and work him in. But, I think there's enough weapons on this team to get the job done. But at the same time, the Buccaneers defense isn't bad either. They've held their own at points this year, and the Buccaneers' best game defensively could also win them a football game. So in this game specifically, I think I'm just going to go with the better quarterback, and maybe Brady comes out hot after the heroics in the last few minutes of last week's game. So I'm going to take the Bucs here too. I think it'd be an upset. Would it be an upset? I'd have to check, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Vegas might have to give the Bucs a chance, but
yeah,
as far as records go, that's definitely upset. I don't disagree with you. However, I will say that in this game in particular, just because both offenses are like not great at the moment, I think the coaching has as much to do with it as the quarterbacking does.
Yeah.
And as much as Brady is better than whoever, I think Shanahan is about that much better than Bowles right now. So, we'll see where there. But you got the 49ers taking the L to move to 8-5. Why did I put the 49ers playing the 49ers? See, this is anyway. So they moved to 8-5. Looks like, I mean, here, you look at they are obviously leading their division. However, the Seahawks are right on their tail. They're 7-4. So, if they lose that game to the Bucs, the Seahawks could very well, to take over and, be leaders in that division, which would make Jake very upset. Speaking of the Seahawks, so I said that the Niners were playing the Niners, but they actually will be playing the Seahawks here in 2 weeks. So that's actually a pretty good game. And if they lose to the Bucs, this could very well be for first place. Who you got?
I think I would say, I think there's a chance the Seahawks do win this game, but I'm going to give the edge to the 49ers. Something about Seattle right now makes me think that and this is more of a gut feeling than anything supported by true statistics, but I think the Seahawks are slowly kind of, falling back down to earth. I think Geno Smith is still playing outstanding, but as far as the rest of the team goes, I feel like, the rest of the team is going to fail Geno. And in this case specifically, Geno might have a rough day against that 49ers defense. And, Brock Purdy, whoever it might be under center, could put up enough points against that Seahawks defense to squeak out a win. So I think we got to give the 49ers another win at least on the road here. And I'm going to give it here.
All right, they're sitting at 9-5, and that would undoubtedly put them back into the division lead. They would still likely sit at that number 3 spot because the chances the Bucs would jump them in 2 weeks is pretty slim. I think almost impossible, if I'm not mistaken. So next up, we have the Washington Commanders versus the 49ers. Who you like there?
I got to give it to the 49ers. The Commanders are, very low efficient offense. Taylor Heineke's, he's good in the clutch, but most of the game is in clutch. Most of the game is just regular football, and he struggles to play quarterback in regular football circumstances, it seems like. So, as good as Terry McLaurin is, Brian Robinson's been, he's been running like a tank. That defense, once again, it's just a story of being too overwhelming for the opposing offense, and it can single-handedly win them the game, and I think that's the case here. Yeah,
I mean, looking at that, it's maybe not great of a game as it looks like it could be, but with the Commanders sitting at 7-5-1, they're at the 8th seed. It is technically a playoff matchup, or at least for our circumstances, we've taken the top team, so it should be a playoff atmosphere there. But you have the 49ers sitting at 10-5 now before they have to take on the Las Vegas Raiders, who suck, but aren't a terrible team. And they have the guy who is playing like the best wide receiver in the NFL at this moment. Devontae Adams just looks unstoppable. He looks like a one-man band. He's just out there looking like him and A.J. Brown really are just like I'm just gonna run down the field, and I don't care what the defense is doing. Just throw me the ball, and I'll make it work. And it's been working. Justin Jefferson as well. So looking at the Raiders and Derek Carr, I mean, they don't have a terrible team. Obviously, they just haven't won games. You think the 49ers got what it takes to tough this one out?
Ooh, this will be a good one because, especially at that point, if we're talking about the Raiders even having a slim chance at the playoffs, they would have had to win, of course, the games prior to this one. And we could be looking at this game as one that, is do or die. I mean, every game for the Raiders is a playoff game at this point if they want a chance at it. So I guess not much changes for them, but as the season, winds down, it'll be that much more important, assuming their hopes are still alive. And for the fun of it, I'll say they are. So I'll give the Raiders the win in this aspect, just because I like the chaos and I like Derek Carr. And I think Davante Adams right now reminds me of LeBron in Miami. He went to Vegas, an unpopular move. He pushed over the cameraman. His character's been in question, and the dude's just been going on a tear, eating everybody up. It's the equivalent I would make is Davante to LeBron in Miami. And I love it. I love watching him play. He plays with an anger similar to like Stephon Diggs plays with sometimes when he's got that. He's in a mood. You can tell when Diggs is in a mood. He just talks shit to everybody. He's yelling at fans in the stands. He's pointing at all the defensive backs, telling them, you can't guard me. You can't do this. Like you can tell when this guy's got an attitude, and Davante's been playing with that same type of mantra. So I really like it a lot.
So the company I work for just got it was just acquired, and the new guys that come in, one of them is a Patriots fan, and he's like, I can't stand Stephon Diggs. He's so arrogant. He's so arrogant, and I was just like, hey man, when you the best, you know what it is. You gotta have the confidence of the best. So yeah, definitely he definitely gets in those moves sometimes. Last but not least. They're sitting at 10-6, which is a very 49ers record. They play a team that, I mean, I certainly had in my playoff picture at the beginning of the season. This quarterback wanted to be paid, and everybody in the world was saying, don't pay him. And I'm sitting there like, it's a generational talent. Why wouldn't you pay him? Well, this is why I got to shut up sometimes, because it probably wasn't a great idea to pay the man. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals are going to come. They're going to be playing the 49ers here, sitting at 10-6. So do the 49ers end the season 11-6 or 10-7?
Probably 11-6. I mean, the 49ers, once again, overbearing defense against a struggling offense. The quarterback seems to not like his head coach. He's a crybaby to an extent, but the head coach is also a moron. So it's a really ugly combination of a very outspoken in a wrong way quarterback and a head coach that is seemingly struggling to scheme his offense and get the players he needs to open. So with that in mind, I'm going to go with the 49ers once again, just because the defense is that good.
Yeah, it's looking a little scary over there in Arizona. You almost got to blow it up. Like, how do you come back from that? I really don't even know like what you do to remedy that situation. It looks very bad, and that's just me putting it lightly. I really don't know how they come back from that situation there, especially with Kyler, is going to, be taking up a lot of the money. I'm sure there are other guys like J.J. Watt's commanding a certain percentage of the salary. Like, it's a sticky situation over there in Arizona, and they aren't even close to the playoff picture here. So, yeah. All right, let's move on. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their first game, as they're currently sitting at 6-6, their first game they take on the 49ers. K-Man has already given the game to the Bucs, so now they sit at 7-6 when they have to play the giant killer that is the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you think about that game?
I think I got to go with the Bengals. Joe Burrow's playing lights out as of late. He just took down the Chiefs. High-powered offense against what could be a hit-or-miss defense, and if that defense is playing like a miss, then Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they could have a field day on that secondary, and it would take a lot to keep up with the Bengals offensively, and we know that the offense of the Bucs has not been quite explosive or high powered. So we'll say that the Bengals take this one home, I think.
All right. Oh, okay. All right, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, so we got the Bucks. You said they're going to lose to the Bengals, so now they sit at 7-7. Then they go see that garbage team we were just talking about, Arizona Cardinals. What happens there?
I'm going to give the Bucks the win. I have no faith in Cliff Kingsbury or Kyler to get together and come up with a victory against Tom Brady. So yeah.
What about so you take a look at the Bucks. What do you think are their strong suits? How do you think that they are going to, let's say that they make a playoff run, and in what way could it possibly happen?
I think it's going to take the Buccaneers offensively to play like the team that they probably should be. Tom Brady needs to get right. They need to stop running the ball on first down and gaining 1 yard and putting themselves behind the sticks. Chris Godwin's been exploding, but Mike Evans needs to be more involved. He has kind of been invisible as of late. They still have Julio Jones, who's showing flashes here and there, so they need to work him in more. Leonard Fournette, hopefully he's able to get healthy. It's just a team of stars. And if they play to what you'd expect a team of stars to play to, I think that's how the Buccaneers return to elite form, is just, leveraging on their offense. And it's not been working lately, but, at any moment, as we saw in that last game, they could turn on a switch and suddenly they're unstoppable and they're slicing down the field in what looks like a 7-on-7 setting. So, if that switch is flipped at the right time, I wouldn't want to play that team.
You're not wrong. You take a look at what the Bucks were last year. They weren't great, or not last year, the year before when they won the Super Bowl. They weren't great mid-season to the end of the season, and then they kind of went on a run. Played the right teams, almost lost to the Commanders and the football team at the time. In the first round there, I remember Tyler Heineke was all over them boys, but they squeaked it out, and then they went and they won a world championship. So you can never count Tom Brady out. Here, Tom Brady sits at 8-7, and then he has to see the Carolina Panthers. So do they jump back to 500, or do they get to 9-7 and finally, get out of that hole?
They take down the Panthers. The Panthers, there's no way Tom Brady loses to the Carolina Panthers twice in one season. No way. Not this version of the Panthers, at least. They already got him once. It's not happening again.
All right, we'll see about that. Next up, they have, last but not least, they have the Falcons. So they got a little bit of a cupcake schedule toward the end of the season there. What do you think? You think the Falcons might be able to squeak one out? I mean, they don't have a terrible offense. Drake London, caught passes out, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got stuff to work with. Cordell Patterson and Marcus Mariota. Who do you think wins that game against Atlanta and Tampa Bay?
Once again, I'm gonna give it to the Bucs, just because by then we could perhaps assume that the Tom Brady and those receivers get on the same page and they rip through that Falcons secondary, and Marcus Mariota in combination with Arthur Smith's ingenious. It's just not a good formula for the Falcons' favor. So I'm gonna take the Bucs.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with that too much. All right. Let's move on to the 5 seed. This is the Cowboys, who sit at 9-3. Would be the 3 seed if the top 4 division winners weren't the top 4 seeds. So they having a great season, obviously at 9-3. Lost a couple heartbreakers, but let's see how they finish out the season. I mean, they look tough. ESPN has them as the best chance to win the Super Bowl this year. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the NFC looks so weak. You take into account a lot of the records: 11-1, 10-2, 8-4, 9-3. And you say, oh, those are really good records. But then you take a look at the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Titans, the Jets, the Dolphins. And there might be a lot of argument that says AFC got some better teams. NFC just got better records. So we'll see what happens there. But the Cowboys, 9-3, their first game is the Houston Texans. So I'm going to assume that you have the Texans taking a W here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, the Cowboys. Yes, the Cowboys win this game. I would never, ever. I think if there was one game all year that I would put my life on, one team to win, I think I would legit. If I ever, for some reason, found myself in a scenario in which I had to do this, my life would be on the Cowboys to win this game.
against the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. All right, next up, they have the Trevor Lawrence-led Jacksonville Jaguars as they sit at 10-3. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Cowboys again. Another good defense. A high-powered offense. They've been shredding on the ground. Jacksonville at points has looked good, but at other points has looked lowly and able to move the ball. So I'm going to take the more consistent football team here in the Cowboys.
All right, I don't think anybody would disagree with you there. Then you gave the W to the Eagles over the Cowboys. So now they will sit at 11-4 when they take on the Tennessee Titans. Who do you think wins that game?
Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna give it to the Cowboys again. The Titans have exceeded expectations. But Ryan Tannehill, he's capped off with what he's got surrounding him. Derrick Henry can only do so much. As good as the Titans have been defensively at times, the Cowboys are still a powerhouse. So once again, it's just a matter of one team is better than the other, and they should overpower.
All right. Last but not least, they have the Washington Commanders as they currently sit at 12-4. Which way does that last game go?
It should go in the Cowboys' favor, but because the Commanders love to play spoiler and it's a divisional game, there is a realm of possibility in which I could see Washington winning, but I'm going to give it to Dallas. Just play it safer.
I agree with you. I think there's a little cause for pause there. Dallas is going to have to bring their A game. Not that it'll matter because I'm going to look at the schedules. They're probably going to be solidified there in that 5 spot. They're not catching the Eagles unless the Eagles just start losing a lot of games. Sitting at 12-4, 13-4. They're going to be solidified there in that 5 spot, even though they record-wise would be the 3rd best team in the NFC if the records stay intact. All right, next up, we got the Giants. And, of course, you said the Eagles were going to win that game. So the Giants, instead of sitting at 7-4, now sit at 7-5. Next up, they play the Washington Commanders, which is a better game than, obviously it's a better game than people give credit for because neither of these teams are great teams. But who do you think wins?
I'm going with the Commanders. I think the Giants, like I said, running out of steam. The Commanders seem to pick it up toward the end of the year. Their defense is getting stronger. They'll get Chase Young back, and I assume by that game he'll probably be back. I just think the Commanders defense, it's a big defensive scheme I'm starting to notice with the NFC. A lot of these top teams, they have good offenses, but their defenses could be overbearing. And I think this is a game where the Commanders could take a strong grasp over the Giants and, take it home.
All right. So, that is interesting. I didn't see that one coming. All right. So now we have the Giants moving to 7-6-1, where they then take on the Minnesota Vikings. And you had the Minnesota Vikings winning that one. So now they move to 700. Or no, not even 700. They'll be 7-7-1 when they go and take on the Indianapolis Colts, who I don't know. They just got mollywopped by the Cowboys. Embarrassed on national TV, embarrassed. It was just, it was crazy. That game was 19-21 going to the 4th quarter. They actually had a chance to win, and it just, it was bad. It was a massacre there in that 4th quarter. It could not have been fun for any Colts fan to watch. But who do you think wins that game? Do you think the Giants are able to squeak that one out?
This is a coin flip. In my mind, it really is. I guess if I were to give the Giants one more win, it would be this one. But who else do they play? Are there any more games after this one?
Yep, they got an L from the Eagles.
Okay, so I guess if I were to give them one more win, it would be here. But I'm still not confident. But I guess I will just because I like Brian Dable. All
right, so the Giants, in Giants fashion, would finish. I'm not sure if that'd be 500, but somewhere around that ballpark at 8-8-1. They go from 7-4-1 to 8-8-1. That's not looking good. They might have to answer some questions. Although I think it's like a foregone conclusion that most people probably are aware that the Giants aren't that great of a team. So yeah, maybe it won't be as big of a deal as we think. All right, next up we got the Seahawks at 7-4. They take on the Carolina Panthers. What you thinking?
Seahawks. Yeah, I don't even know why I thought about that. The Seahawks. I don't think the Panthers suck. It's a Seahawks one.
Fair enough. They take on the 49ers, and you had the 49ers beating the Seahawks. Yep, you had the 49ers beating the Seahawks. So 8-5. Then they take on the Chiefs, and I know you're gonna have the Seahawks beating the Chiefs.
I wish I could, but I can't. I can't bring myself to do that. No.
All right, fair enough. 8-6. What about the Jets? You have to beating them.
Oh man, that'll be a good one. That'll be a really good game. I'm going to say the Seahawks though. I think the Jets at one point or another are going to run out of Mike White magic, and I'm not sure when that'll happen, but I can see by that point in the year, the Jets Cinderella story and whatever they got going on right now is kind of spelled to rest. So I'm gonna take the Seahawks there.
The Jets probably run out of Mike White magic this weekend, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. They finished the season playing the number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield and the Los Angeles Rams.
Wow, I can't even. I still can't believe that.
Yeah, that's a little weird to say. But who you think is going to win that one?
Give me the Seahawks. The Rams probably will not win a game for the rest of the year the way they're going.
All right, so at 10-6, the Seahawks would jump the Giants to enter that 6th spot, and we'll see if the Giants even make it. Looking here at now the Commanders, you got the Commanders facing off against the facing off against the Giants. You gave that game to the Commanders, so already they're at 8-5-1, and they would need to lose 3 games in a row in order for the Giants to keep their spot. So next up after the Giants, we have the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, you said they're going to lose that game. Then we have the Deshaun Watson-led Cleveland Browns. As the Commanders sit in 8-6-1, where do you think this game goes?
You'd like to imagine the Browns are a little bit better with Deshaun Watson in their center at that point, but I don't want that to be the case. I hope he still sucks by then. We saw what he presented last week, and that wasn't too exciting. So, I'm gonna go with the Commanders. I don't like the Browns. I don't want Watson.
Oh, he gave it to the Commanders.
I don't want Watson to win. It's that simple. It really is.
All right. Fair enough. So the Commanders take the final playoff spot as they just squeak out over the Giants, and they get to 9-7-1, while the Giants sit at 8-8-1. They will have been supplanted by the Washington Commanders. So take a look at your NFC playoff picture. We have the Eagles at 16-1, the Vikings at 14-3, the 49ers at 11-6, the Buccaneers at 10-7, the Cowboys at 13-4, Seahawks at 10-6, Commanders at 9-7. So, hey, actually, well, that doesn't make sense. How can the Seahawks be 10-6? Seahawks might actually have jumped the 49ers. I must have making a mistake along the way here. So you said they'll beat Carolina. They will lose to the 49ers. They will lose to KC. They will lose to the Jets. That'd be nice. And then they'll beat the Rams. Sorry, guys. This is a little tough to.
Yeah, it's tough to compute.
Yeah, just trying to go through all in a limited space as well. Am I missing the game? Oh, the Panthers game. No, you said Carolina. You said San Francisco, KC, the Jets, and the Rams. It's so weird. What's the Seahawks record?
Right now, it's 7-5, I think.
Oh, 7-5.
I'm pretty sure.
That's what's messing me up. Okay.
Yeah, they're 7-5.
So then it'll be. So let's give them an extra loss. That will be 10-7. And nope. All right. So the 49ers will keep their number 3 seed there. And the Seahawks will be the number 6 seed. And then the Commanders would come in at the number 7 seed. So taking a look at the NFC playoff picture there, what's your thoughts on that?
It's one of those that can really, even based on what we know now, in 2 weeks could be completely different. A lot of variables play into it, like what the 49ers will look like now that Brock Purdy's going to be consistently starting. How the Giants finish out, whether or not they finish strong or finish the way that I'm predicting. But I think it's possible that it also could shake out the exact way we're predicting too. So it's definitely a wild division or wild conference. So we'll have to keep an eye out for it. But I would say the NFC is probably a tad bit easier to try and predict than what the AFC is going to be.
All right, tad bit easier. So we'll see right now. We got the Buffalo Bills here at the number 1 seed. First week this weekend, they will be taking on the New York Jets. Who you got?
The Bills, right? I mean, we can't get swept by the Jets. We can't. If we get swept by the Jets, I'm going to be pretty disappointed, in terms of, where the season is at. So I'm hoping that despite how good the Jets have looked, we need this game. We need this game desperately. So give it to the Bills.
Yeah. If you put yourself in a position where you finally, have gotten back to the 1 seed, the Chiefs lose a game maybe they shouldn't have lost, and then you lose to the Jets, like, you don't deserve to be the 1 seed at that point.
No.
All right.
I agree.
After the Jets game, they actually have what looks like a tough game on paper. To be fair, the first game, they pretty much dominated this team, but the hot weather really got to them. I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins here. What do you think the Bills are going to be able to do with that?
Another situation, can't get swept by a divisional opponent. So I'm going to give this to the Bills. I think the Dolphins showed some weakness this week against the 49ers with Brock Purdy under center. So I'm going to give this to the Bills, whether that's bias showing or not. I like the Bills to take these next 2 home.
All right. After that, they have the Chicago Bears on Christmas Eve.
Bills. I mean, it's looking like a schedule that's shaping up that should be very favorable for us. If we can get through this AFC East gauntlet of the next few weeks that we have, you'd like to imagine that we can finish off the year strong with what I think is not the worst schedule ever. I think it's actually pretty favorable for us, especially considering our circumstances.
All right. Well, next up, you got the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Man, I forgot about that game. Oh, that's going to be tough. Man.
Is it though?
I want to say no, but it's just considering where we're at as a football team, health-wise, it's so hard to predict what we're going to get. And, the Bengals have been on red-hot fire. So, assuming we're going to that game on a winning streak, like I'm predicting, I think, we're more than capable of taking out a team like that. So I'm going to say the Bills. We'll be on a hot streak too.
All right, fair enough. Last game of the season, they had the New England Patriots, and Buffalo Bills probably will have to play all their starters, considering they're going to be fighting for that number 1 seed. We'll talk about the Chiefs here in a little bit, but they'll be here sitting at 13-3. Last game of the season. What do you think they do?
I give this to the Bills. I don't think they lose to the Patriots. The Patriots have not shown much this year. They have at times, but not enough to beat the Bills.
All right. So we got the Buffalo Bills sitting at 14-3. winning out their rest of the schedule. Only the second team so far that you have winning out. So the Buffalo Bills will be your number 1 seed at 14-3. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who, I mean, call it what you want. They are still a talented team, even more talented than I gave them credit for. I thought that they were going to be maybe a top of the middle of the pack team. You take a look at the playoff picture right now, 1 through 9. For instance, a team like the Bengals sitting at 8-4 in the 5 spot, or the Dolphins at 8-4 in the 6 spot, or the Jets sitting at 7-5 in the 7 spot. I thought that the Chiefs would be somewhere in there by this point, but they just keep winning and keep winning and keep winning. Only losses have come to a Colts game that looked very uncharacteristic. They lost to a good team in the Buffalo Bills, and then they lost to what looks like they could be a good team in Cincinnati. So, what do you think the Chiefs are going to be able to do against Denver? Keep in mind, this is a division game.
It is, and the Broncos have given the Chiefs fits in the past, but Russell Wilson, I think if there was any opportunity for him to show something, it would have been out of the bye week, and they still struggled. So I'm going to give this one to the Chiefs, without much sweat.
Fair enough. I think I know where you're going with this one. You definitely are going to take the Texans to beat the Chiefs, right?
You're not getting me this time. Give me the Chiefs. You got me last time with that one, but give me the Chiefs. Of course.
All right. And already gave the W to the Chiefs over the Seattle Seahawks. Next up, Denver Broncos again. I mean, let's say the first game Chiefs win in a close one. What happens this time?
I'm going to give it to the Chiefs again. I think this might end up I don't know what the rest of their schedule is looking like, but this could be another one of those teams that went out for the rest of their schedule. But I guess we'll see what else. Oh, I think they have the Raiders left, but we'll get to that in a second, right? But yeah, I'll give it to them now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to it right now. Oh, you think they're going to beat the Raiders?
Oh,
I mean, let me just say this. Last year, the Raiders gave them, I think they beat them. And then the game that they played in before, they gave them a run for their money. And I don't think the Raiders, I think the Raiders played them pretty close. Devontae Adams is playing lights out. Who do you think wins the last game of the season?
I'm going to say the Chiefs just because it's safe. But I think with the way that I'm kind of hoping things are going for the Raiders, that they have a good chance in that football game. And who knows, maybe the Chiefs are locked into a spot at that point and they won't feel like they have to keep the pedal on the metal, depending on where they stand. So I'm going to give this one to the Chiefs, but it could easily go in the Raiders' favor.
All right. Sounds good to me. Next up, we have the number 3 seed here. Number 3 seed, same record as the number 5 seed Bengals. So keep that in mind. These two teams are going to be flip-flopping depending on, how good they look, in the division based off of that. So we'll see what happens here. The Baltimore Ravens take on the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. Lamar has been injured. Tyler Huntley looks good. I like Tyler Huntley. But, I mean, maybe not a sure thing. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's definitely not a sure thing. The Steelers have not looked bad, but, I think Tyler Huntley actually provides a spark to this football team that Lamar, I feel like at times has struggled to provide. And it kind of hurts me to say that because I was really rooting for Lamar to have a really, really great year and get that paycheck. And it's not out of the question, but it's certainly looking like more and more of a possibility that the Ravens won't be the team paying him. That's a whole conversation for another day. But I think Tyler Huntley is one of the better backups in the NFL, and he kind of fits right into that Ravens mold. So I think the Ravens still come out with this game because they have a tough defense.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley does look good. And I think either way, whoever they play, I could definitely see it going that way. So I'm going to move on to the next game because I think we both think they could be Pitt. The Pitt can be dangerous sometimes, but Rick quarterback will still happen. the Ravens then take on the Deshaun Watson and Cleveland Browns.
I'm going to take the Ravens. I don't think the Browns at that point are going to be on track. Don't like Deshaun Watson, of course. So I'm going to take the Browns or the Ravens. I'm sorry.
Ravens, yeah. All right, so that's it. For they then have to face the Atlanta Falcons.
You said the Atlanta Falcons. You kind of broke up there for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. Yep. They take on the Atlanta Falcons after the Cleveland Browns.
Give me the Falcons. No, they can beat the Falcons. They can 100% beat the Falcons. I don't like the Falcons. I think Arthur Smith is an idiot. Kyle Pitts is out. The defense can get shredded through the air easily. They definitely take down the Falcons.
Round 2 against Pitt. What happens?
That'll be a good one. That game I could see going to Pittsburgh. I think TJ Watt, be more up to speed. I think it'll be hard for any team to sweep. So I think I can see that game going to the Steelers. So I'll give the Ravens a loss in this one.
All right, sitting at 11-5, the last game of the season, they take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Looking at the Bengals, you never know, but this is a divisional game. And like we said, we see the Bengals schedule a little bit later. This is going to determine a lot. Now, the Ravens already have one loss, and we'll see what the Bengals schedule looks like the rest of the way. But this could easily be for first place. What you got?
I'm going to give it to the Bengals. Cincinnati, has looked hot. I think they stay hot. And the Ravens, I think, will be a team that teeter back and forth at times with Taylor Huntley under center. Maybe Lamar will be back by that point. But I just don't see the Ravens being the team I thought they could be this year. And the Bengals are, on a roll. So I'm going to give this one to Cincinnati.
Yeah, looking at the beginning of the season, we were saying Lamar Jackson was MVP, top 5 quarterback. The Ravens look unstoppable. Then they let the Dolphins come back, and it's really been a sinking ship ever since then. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, so we have the Ravens. You said you give that game to the Ravens or the Bengals?
The Bengals.
Bengals. All right. We have the Ravens sitting on 11-4 here, which isn't a bad record. However, you don't even really come close to the top 2 teams. We'll see if the Bengals will be able to stick it out and get the divisional crown. 4 seed Tennessee Titans. The Jacksonville Jaguars is their game this weekend. Sitting at 7-5. What do you think happens?
I think Derrick Henry runs them flat into the ground, and Tennessee takes this one home pretty lightly.
All right, sounds good. Can't really argue with that myself. They then take on the Los Angeles Chargers. What you got?
Ooh, that'll be a good one. That'll be a real good one. I think Tennessee actually does come out with this one. I think the better coach team. The Chargers are hurt. Derrick Henry should be able to run over that 49ers, the Chargers front, and I'm gonna go with the Titans. Actually, I think
the Titans beat the Jaguars, and then they go and they face the Justin Herbert-led Los Angeles Chargers.
Who do they play next? Who's the
Los Angeles Chargers?
I thought we just talked. They play the Chargers back to back.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm still. Did I just say Chargers? I'm sorry. They beat Jacksonville. Then you said they beat the Chargers or lose the Chargers?
Beat the Chargers.
Okay. So now they're sitting at 9-5. They play the Houston Texans.
Beat the Texans.
Then I believe you had them losing to Dallas. So let's see here, 10-6. And last but not least, they play the Jaguars again.
Yeah, give me Tennessee. Give me Tennessee for the same reason.
Yeah. So at 11-6, it looks like chances are they will probably be that 4th seed sitting there at the end. Well, they'll be tied with the Ravens there. So we'll see what happens with the Bengals. And speak of the team, and they shall appear. The Bengals' first game this weekend comes up against the Cleveland Browns, and I think I know how you feel about the Cleveland Browns. So
Yeah.
let's call that a Bengals W. They then take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So it'll be Joe Burrow against Brady. That'll be interesting. What you got?
I'm taking the Bengals. I think the more high powered team, more consistent offensively. And unless Brady and the Bucks kind of turn it around, which is possible, but we really don't have much evidence to back that one up. So I'm gonna go with Cincinnati, who's been red hot.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I think it'll be interesting to see how Tom Brady reacts to playing, a young stud who kind of I would imagine he, resembles or thinks of him, like he used to be, when he was a young gun in this league. Although he didn't have quite the pomp and circumstances, he certainly had the success to go along with it. Next up, they play Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Now, keep in mind, this is Bill Belichick. Chances are he's gonna take away Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase. So, who do you think wins that game?
I'm going to give this to the Bengals still. I think the Patriots defense has actually, had some holes poked into it by some top receivers lately. And it's just one of those things where their defense isn't quite strong enough to hold back the opposing offense to keep that low scoring Patriots offense in the game. So, just an instance where the Patriots, not unfortunately, but offensively can't keep up. So give me Cincinnati.
All right. And with that, we've already said that they take an L to the Bills and they beat the Ravens on the last game of the season. We guessed it'd be for first place, and we were absolutely right. And with a 12-5 record, the Bengals will have jumped the Ravens with their 11-6 record. So the Bengals will be your 3 seed. Titans will be your 4 seed. And the Ravens, as of right now, sit at the 5 seed. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. Now, first game this weekend is a good one. They got the Los Angeles Chargers coming into town. Who's got this one?
This will be one of the games of the year, I think. Two young quarterbacks that one's trying to prove himself, the other's got a lot of support standing behind him, but he's struggling. I think one team is substantially better than the other, and that might be, the tipping point in terms of, which quarterback comes out on top of this duel. So I think I'll probably go with Miami because I just don't have faith in Brandon Staley or the play calling. Keenan Allen's not been having a great season because he's been in and out with injury. I don't know if Mike Williams returns, but nevertheless, I think, Tyreek Hill alone will be enough to damage that the Chargers secondary. So give me the Dolphins.
All right, sounds good. Then they play the Buffalo Bills, which they have already been given an L. Then they take on the Green Bay Packers, sitting at 9-5. Who wins that game?
Give me the Dolphins. The Green Bay Packers. Who knows if Rodgers is even playing at that point? So, give me the Dolphins.
Patriots. Dolphins versus Patriots again, a divisional game.
Dolphins. Yeah, I mean, same reason why I didn't have the Patriots, having a chance against the Bengals. Same thing here.
Fair enough. All right, and last but not least, they will be taking on the New York Jets to try to go to 12-5 and actually hop the Ravens in the standings. You think they beat the Jets?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this win to the Dolphins. I think the Jets lose that Mike Wake magic, like we kind of touched on earlier. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one to the Dolphins.
Sounds good. So we got the Dolphins, like I said, sitting at 12-5. They hop the Baltimore Ravens. They would have hopped the Titans, but they are a division leader, so All right, next up we got the Jets sitting at the 7 seed. And they got some good games because we don't really look at the Jets like a great team. So they play some mediocre teams, and mediocre team versus a mediocre team can call for a great game. But first, before they play these, excuse me, guys, sorry about that. Before they play these mediocre teams, they got the Buffalo Bills, and we've already established that will be an L. sit 7-6 for the Jets there. Next up, they have the Lions. Jets versus Lions. Caveman, who you got?
Oh, man. I think I got to go with the Lions. If they could take down the Vikings, they could take down the Jets. So this will be a big game for New York. But I do think that the Lions are getting to be hotter and hotter. So if they have any chance of making the postseason, it's going to be over this next few stretch of games to pull together. And if Jared Goff continues slinging the way he's been, I have no reason not to believe that they couldn't take down the Jets either.
Fair enough. I don't disagree with you there. All right, now sitting at 500 again, 7-7. Take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you're the Jets, who's winning that game?
Oh, man, I think I'm going to go with the Jets. Trevor Lawrence is, I think he's having a good year to an extent, but, there's still inefficiencies, with that team and that offense. And I think their defense actually has a longer way to go than I suspected. So I'm going to go with the Jets, who I think have a better football team overall.
All right, bear with us, everybody. We've got a couple more games to talk about here. Jets sit at 8-7, and they take on the Seattle Seahawks. Another good game. Actually, I think we have the answer to that already, and we do. We have the Seahawks winning. So now the Jets are again at 8-8, and you've already said that you believe that the Dolphins will the Dolphins will win the final game of the season and beat the Jets. The Jets don't finish over 500. They will be 8-9 in this scenario. So listen, 8-9, you open the doors for the 6-6 Patriots. You open the doors for the 6-6 Los Angeles Chargers. So how about we go through those team schedules and we see if we think one of these teams might be able to surpass them. And let's start off with the Patriots here because they have the higher seed at the moment per NFL.com. This weekend, they have the Arizona Cardinals.
Man, that's a tough one. I'm going to give this one to the Patriots. The Cardinals, just not a team I have faith in any regard. So I think the Cardinals, fall short, and the Patriots and Bill Belichick take this one home.
All right, sounds good. So we got them sitting at 7-6. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. It's a good game. Patriots versus Raiders.
I'm giving this to the Raiders. I think the Raiders get hot down the stretch, and I don't think Bill Belichick's defense can really slow down Devontae Adams because no one seemed to be able to. So I'm going to give this one to the Raiders.
All right, sounds good. And after the Raiders, they got the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals for sure.
Cincinnati Bengals after the Raiders. So you think wins?
Bengals for sure.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't hear you say that. Okay. So
good.
You said they beat the Raiders, right?
I have the Raiders winning.
The Raiders winning. Oh wow. So now we have the Patriots sitting at 6-9. Already said they would lose to the Dolphins. Now they're sitting at 6-10. Last game of the season, they played the Bills. 6-11 for the Raiders after starting 6-6. So Caveman has the Raiders. I'm sorry, the Patriots going on a 5-game losing streak to end this season. That would be rough on the people in Belichick land. And no playoffs for the Patriots this year. That'd be very interesting to see if that actually happened. All right. Last but not least, guys, we've made it to the final team here. Hour and some change in. I know this is a little bit tedious, but we got to put this all together for you guys so we can put out Caveman's bracket, looking about what he thinks his playoff picture is going to look like here for the 2022 season. And we're going to see how well it matches up with what happens in real life. I mean, the NFL is pretty unpredictable. So, I'm sure not all of this will look exactly the same, but I have to say I agree with a lot, if not most of it. So we'll see what the Chargers do here this weekend. They play the Miami Dolphins, who you have already given the W2. So now the Chargers will sit at 6-7, playing the Dolphins. Then next up, they have the Tennessee Titans, who you said they get the loss to. So now the Chargers are sitting at 6-8, and it's getting a little sticky, ladies and gentlemen. The Chargers then play the Colts. Come on, they get the win over the Colts, right? They get the win
for sure.
All right, 7-8 here. Then they play the Rams, the Baker Mayfield-led Rams.
They beat the Rams. Definitely beat the Rams.
Okay. Back to 800. The last game of the season, the Chargers will be in a playoff game. I'm sorry, a divisional game where they will take on the Denver Broncos. Who wins that game?
Gotta give it to the Chargers. It'll be a must-win. If they want any opportunity, and I don't think the Broncos. There's no faith to be had with Russell Wilson at this point. So definitely gonna go with the Chargers here.
Wow. So on the last game of the season, the Chargers jump over the Patriots and the Jets. The Jets, who finished the season at 8-9. We have the Chargers finish the season at 9-8. So the Chargers will jump over the Patriots and the Jets to secure that final playoff seed there in the AFC. Man, that was a lot, but I feel like that was worth it. We'll be able to go back and look at it and see, how well it stacks up with what happened in real life. But taking a look at the AFC here, you got the Bills as your number 1 seed there, 14-3. Chiefs with the same exact identical record. However, they obviously lost to the Bills, so they lose the tiebreaker as the number 2 seed. Then we have the Bengals jumping over the Ravens as the number 3 seed, sitting at 12-5. Then we have the Titans sitting at 11-6. We have the Ravens sitting at 11-6 as the 6th seed. Then we have the Dolphins sitting at 12-5. I'm sorry. The Dolphins will be the 6th seed. The Ravens will be the 7th seed. Oh, I'm tripping. The Dolphins will be the 5 seed. The Raiders will be the 6th seed. And then the Los Angeles Chargers will jump in as the 7th seed, sitting at 9-8. What do you think of that AFC pitch?
It's one that could, like I said, for the NFC, just one that can shift so quickly in terms of what happens here. I mean, even over the next week, it could be something that's flipped, completely on its head. If there's a few upsets like there have been all year, there's been upsets galore this season. So, I mean, this whole thing could be flipped on its head in a matter of a few days. So we'll see how it all runs out. It'll be interesting to see how it does pan out. It's always fun to do something like this just to see how it compares to what actually happens.
So I just saw your message. I didn't have my.
No, you're good.
I didn't have my screen up. I was looking at the record,
I figured
so
you did.
that's my bad. But
no,
hey, we went through the entire playoff seedings. This is 17 teams, 5 games apiece. That's a lot of math for my brain right now.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of games. Okay, it's something crazy. Over 100 games we just predicted here now. Nope, almost 100 games. 5 times 20.
Don't hurt yourself even more with the math.
Yeah, 80 something, 90 something. All right. It's 85 actually. All right, 85 games here. Do you feel confident in this? Like, are there any teams that let me ask you this. Who is a team that could say, F all this, go on a crazy win streak and be a tough out in the playoffs?
I think the Raiders
didn't have doing so good.
The Raiders are that team that I would say have that opportunity to really screw this whole thing up. So they don't have the toughest of schedules down the stretch here. So if they pull out one upset, which would be over the Chiefs, then we could be looking at a potential playoff team that really throws a monkey wrench into these plans here.
That's a good one. Maybe I should have. All right. So I don't mean to annoy you, K-Man, real quick. We'll do it real quick. Raiders, Rams. Who you got?
Raiders.
Raiders, Patriots. Who you got?
Raiders.
Raiders, Steelers. Who you got?
Raiders.
Raiders, 49ers. Who you got?
Oh, man.
You gave it to the Raiders, actually.
I did.
You put a loss. You gave it to the Raiders.
I did.
Raiders. Wow. Hold on. So the Raiders would currently be sitting at 9-7, 8-7.
Yeah, I would put them at 9-7.
9-7. Yes.
They're at 5-7 right now.
And then the Raiders versus Chiefs would either be the 10-7 or it would be the 9-8.
That'd probably be their playoff hope right there. If they win, they're in. That'll be a win, they're in game if they get to that point. They might even be in at that point, but 9-7 in this, or 9-8 in this conference probably doesn't get it done. So that'll be a winner in type of situation. So
wow. So the Raiders could theoretically come back and shake this whole thing up and potentially be that 7 seed in the playoffs. I didn't realize their schedule this week. So wow, that's actually pretty interesting, man. That was actually a very good answer to that question. Obviously, we did all of that, and so now we've officially gotten to 90 games. Okay, we predicted 90 games here. All right, so we've done a lot of hard work tonight, Caveman. Is there anything you want to? Let's just. I mean, we got to talk about the Bills to some degree. Let's get out there. Von Miller, the injury. He tore his ACL. There was a tear in his ACL, so he will be out the remainder of the season. So let me ask you this, and I won't keep you too long because we've been here for a little while, obviously. But looking at the Buffalo Bills as currently, presented, they lose Von Miller. They won't have him going forward. Are they still Super Bowl contenders?
Of course. I mean, you got Josh Allen, right? How could we sit here and try and act like he doesn't give any team he plays for an automatic opportunity to play in the Super Bowl? But it certainly hurts. I mean, it's crazy to think that the team that we saw throughout the first 2 or 3 games is the same team we're seeing now. I never would have thought that, we would see these drastic differences of the same team, but here we are. But when you have Josh Allen, anything is possible, and he's proved that. It just really hurts that the player that we all felt was the final puzzle piece to this whole thing is, now out of the equation, and we're going to have to live the same nightmare that we've been living with this football team in terms of the defense, at least. And hopefully the young guys that have been under Von's wing will really step up. I know the next man up mentality is huge in the NFL, but sometimes, you can't make up for a piece that goes down like Von Miller. So we're still contenders, but Josh, Josh is going to have to do probably even more lifting than he's already been doing, which is a lot to ask.
I agree. And the way I look at it is, yes, we Josh Allen. So, yes, we're contenders, just like you said. And I also look at it as, let's say Von Miller went back to the Broncos this year, right? Broncos suck. So he would be like a player that is just inconsequential in the NFL right now, right? Much like a Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson probably played for like a better team, he might be somebody who's like making noise, or he might be a difference maker somewhere in the league. But he plays for a sucky team. So like he has no bearing on what happens at the end of the season or in the Super Bowl, right? So if they didn't have Von Miller, if he never signed this year, are we saying that the Bills aren't contenders? That's why it shocks me. It's like, the Bills aren't contenders without Von Miller. It's like, what are you talking about? They could have easily won the Super Bowl last year if the defense stops the field goal. I don't know. It doesn't make too much sense to me. But Von Miller's injured. But we do get Tre'Davious White back. The Jordan Poyer is healthy as far as we know. Greg Rousseau. We got a lot of pieces back. Hopefully we get healthy toward the end of the season and going into the playoffs. So man, it's you look at the Bills and I totally believe they're still Super Bowl contenders. Is Von Miller a bigger loss than Tyreek Hill? No,
probably not. No, so. I don't think so either.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. Um, so yeah, that's the way I see it. And I don't know if there's any other Bills news. Smoke John Brown is back. Excuse me, Marquez Stevenson, excuse me, got released. Yeah. Um, big game coming up, obviously, this weekend, division rival. Also, um, might as well. I'll give you guys a little tidbit. April. Make sure you guys are looking out. Stevie Johnson hosted one-on-ones are coming to Buffalo. Okay. I'm only giving this information to you guys on live. I have not announced this on Twitter. Nobody knows. So if you're listening and showing us love, I'm showing you love right now. You have first knowledge of this. Stevie Johnson is going to be hosting one-on-ones. So if you think you're a wide receiver, you think you're a cornerback, you want to show off your athleticism, you want to strap people up, or you want to moss people, let's see what you got. All right. I was talking to him. He said he want to make it like a Gus Macker type of thing, except football. I was like, it sounds like a great idea to me. So, a lot of big things coming that way. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. And also next Saturday before the Dolphins game, myself, Mookie Hawkins, and Ruben Brown will be live hosting a podcast at the Buffalo Mafia House, Bills Mafia House, rather. So that's going to be really, really dope. Make sure you guys are there. You come and you support. You might be able to get on stream. We'll see what happens. I don't really know what the setup's going to be like and how flexible it's going to be. We still have a lot of planning to do, but you guys heard it here first. Those promotions and advertisements and stuff will start to go up soon. But like I said, you guys heard it here first. So exclusive information here on Sunday in February. Caveman, you have anything for the people before they go subscribe to your YouTube channel?
Nah, man, I think that's about it. We covered a lot of ground. I mean, tonight's this weekend is, as every weekend will be going forward, be very indicative of what the playoff picture will end up looking like. And it's always fun to do these because like we said, it's fun to see how it stacks up. But this year specifically, everything's been so unpredictable that it's almost funny to think that it can be completely just so far wrong, because I've struggled so bad with picking games in general that this could be, I mean, who knows what ends up happening, but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes the NFL
we all have. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Because who picked the Packers to lose 8 times this year? Through 11, 12 weeks. Who picked the Buccaneers to be super duper mediocre? Who picked the Seahawks to be a good team? Who picked the Eagles to be 11-1? Nobody is picking these games, 100% efficiency. Very wacky NFL season so far. And it'll be interesting to see in a week's time from now, how the games look and, how here. But with that being said, we want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. Of course, you guys know we appreciate every single like, comment, subscription, retweet, repost, share, whatever other social media notifications that you can give us likes. Please make sure you slap the like button and subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, go follow this man on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of it. Great content he's putting up. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. So thank you guys. Remember, this is the official network of the original Bills Mafia, presented by 26 Shirts. Go Bills.
Go Bills.